Hello, welcome to the story that birthed the term flying saucer, the story that captivated a nation and then the world. The story begins on June 24th, 1947, with a pilot named Kenneth Arnold. Arnold was flying across the clear skies in Washington State, near Mount Rainier. What Arnold was about to witness on this flight would change the world forever.
At this point is when I would say approximately is where I had this terrific flash hit the air. My aircraft lit up the inside of my aircraft, and I assumed, of course, at the time in a split second that it was probably a P-51 fighter that had dove over my nose, and that it was the sun's reflecting upon his bright wing surfaces that caused it. However, before I gathered my wits together, I looked way off here to the north, and then when I saw where the flash came from, it was an echelon formation of very peculiar-looking aircraft, and they were rapidly approaching Mount Rainier. And it was at about this point when I got here, I could see their tail surfaces, or the rear end of them, and the second craft from the rear had a more or less crescent-shaped look, and it had a hole in the center of it. And of course, I kept mulling in my mind, that's the damnedest looking airplane I ever saw.
Arnold was in a great position to time their speed. The mountain peaks above Mount Rainier and Mount Adams, which were about 50 miles apart, made the perfect markers.
I looked at my sweep second hand on my 24-hour clock, and they had covered this distance of approximately 50 miles in a minute and 42 seconds. It was placing their speed at approximately 1,700 miles an hour, 1,781 it came out at that distance, which was, of course, unheard of in 1947.
Arnold couldn't wait to share the story. He was interviewed for the first time on June 25th, the next day.
Newscaster in every newspaper across the nation has made headlines out of it, and this afternoon we are honored indeed to have here in our studio this man, Kenneth Arnold, who we believe may be able to give us a first-hand account and give you the same on what happened.
Arnold had the makings of a reliable witness. He was a respected businessman and experienced pilot, and seemed to be neither exaggerating what he had seen nor adding sensational details to his report. He also gave the impression of being a careful observer. These details impressed the newspaperman, who interviewed him and lent credibility to his report.
But to the best of my knowledge and the best of my description, that is what I actually saw, and like I told the Associated Press, I'd be glad to confirm it with my hands on a Bible, because I did see it. And whether it has anything to do with our Army or our intelligence, or whether it has to do with some foreign country, I don't know. But I did see it, and I did clock it, and I just happened to be in a beautiful position to do it, and it's just as much a mystery to me as it is to everyone else who's been calling me the last 24 hours wondering what it was.
The world would see the term flying saucer in headlines for the first time after Arnold's interview. The nation was obsessed with Arnold's story. The flying saucer craze had begun. The following weeks in the summer of 1947 would be weeks of mystery, intrigue and wonder, with over 800 reported sightings.
I says, well, I tell you, they flew erratically like a saucer would if you skipped it across the water. And of course then, all of a sudden, the term flying disc and this type of thing, or crescent-shaped or whatnot, was completely dropped, and everybody started seeing flying saucers. And they've been seeing them ever since.
This was just the beginning of the worldwide obsession into the unknowns of our universe. This was the event to make people forever gaze up to the sky and ask the longing question, are we alone?
ordinary man in an ordinary street in America. But this man started the 1947 wave of sightings that swept the world when he claimed to have seen from his mountain rescue plane 9 disc-like objects, roughly 45 miles away, flying at a speed of approximately 1,500 miles per hour near Mount Rainier, Oregon. The date? June 24, 1947. Later, when asked by a reporter to describe how they flew, Arnold said their motion was like saucers skipping over water. In the papers the next day, the world first saw the term flying saucer. On June 24, 1977, 30 years to the day after he first sighted them, Ken Arnold consented to speak to us. He had refused to make any public statements for the last 5 years. It's easy to see that after 30 years, he's still angry at the disbelief.
Right here, we've seen something, I've seen something, hundreds of pilots have seen something in the skies. We have dutifully reported these things. And we have to have 15 million witnesses before anybody's going to look into the problem seriously. Why, this is utterly fantastic. This is more fantastic than flying saucers or people from Venus or anything, as far as I'm concerned.
The greatest surprise was when Arnold reported his sighting to the nearest U.S. military airbase. He found on the wall of the commander's office this classified gun sight photograph, which bore a remarkable resemblance to what Arnold claimed he had just seen, and Shaver had discussed 3 years before.